Hey everyone, welcome to Keller Acres. Today I'm sharing some things to know if you're thinking about getting chicks this season, or if you maybe just got baby chicks. It's kind of that time of year that baby chicks are showing up in the farm stores and people seem to go crazy for them. 2 years ago is when we got our chickens, so I just wanted to make a video that hopefully will be helpful if you are on your journey for the first time with baby chicks. So my first bit of advice is research your breeds. Before you go pick out your chickens, try to decide what breeds might be best for you for wherever you live, for what climate you live in. Some chickens do better in cold weather than others. So research your breeds. Some, with the larger comb can be more susceptible to frostbite. A couple of our chickens do have a larger comb, so you just have to be a little more careful. I've also heard, for example, that silkies don't do as well in the cold weather. I don't know that personally because we don't have any silkies, but I have heard that, and I know that's a really popular one just because people like the way that they look. So make sure you know what's going to work best for your environment before you go pick out the chicks. Don't just go and pick them out by cuteness factor. That's what I probably would have done, but luckily my husband did do the research first, so he knew which ones we should get, and that worked out really great. So for example, we have 4 Americanas, 1 cream leg bar, and 1 Wells summer, and we live in Iowa, so we get a lot of heat in the summer and quite a bit of cold and some snow in the winter. So far what we have has done really well. The Americanas especially, because they don't have a large comb, and that really helps. You don't have to worry about the frostbite with those. Also, before you go get your baby chicks, make sure that you know everything you need to get when you go to pick them up. Make sure you have your list ready of all the supplies you're going to need. I know it can be tempting if you go in and they have them to just get them, but make sure that you know what you're going to put them in when you get home. For example, we put ours in a large tub until they got bigger. You're also going to need a heat lamp. They need to have a heat lamp or a brooder, some sort of heat on them until they're fully feathered. I've heard of people not using that, but it's best to do that. They really do need that heat until they're fully feathered. Also, you'll need some chick starter food, and you'll need some Fresh Flakes bedding. You'll need something for their water and something for their food. It's best to kind of do something small for the water. You want to be careful. We were lucky we had a really small feeder and a small waterer that was gifted to us, and that worked out perfect. You just don't want to use anything large for that water because the chicks could get in it and drown, so be careful what you use for the water. A bigger thing for the food is fine if you don't want to have to repurchase something different once they outgrow. Like, whoops, I'm going to show you ours. It's not put together right at the moment. We have another bowl of food. This is just kind of a extra thing. Anyway, something like this, for example, works great for the food, and you could go ahead and just get a large one like this, even though they don't need it to be this big yet, unless you have a lot of chickens, depending on how many you're getting, I guess I should say. So something like that is perfect, but again, just be careful with the water. Also, a little bit breezy here today. I swear it's windy all of the time. Make sure you have that coop ready to go. You need a coop for your chickens, obviously. That's where they're going to go at night to roost, and that's also where they're going to lay their eggs. They need that to be safe from predators. So make sure that you have a plan for that, and that you either have that going already or that you already have it done, because they do get big pretty fast, and once they're fully feathered and big enough, you want to get them out there in that coop because they aren't going to want to be kept in whatever you have them in. We moved ours to a box after they outgrew the bin, and ours were ready to go in the coop before our coop was ready. That's why I'm saying try to have that coop ready before you get the baby chicks because it was kind of a pain. Ours were not wanting to be in the box obviously anymore, so we would let them run around in the evening outside, and then we'd have to catch them to put them back in the box, and they are really fast. When they're really tiny, they're fine, but when they're in that in-between stage, right about that point where they're ready to go in the coop, they are fast. So once they start laying though, then you'll be able to catch them easily. They don't stay super fast like that, because once they start laying, they will squat down usually when you approach them, and that makes it really easy to grab them if you need to. But that in-between stage, man, I wish we had video of that. My husband chasing and diving after them. It was terrible. So have that ready to go. Also, when you're thinking about your coop, what we saw online was 1 square foot per chicken. I definitely think you need way more than 1 square foot per chicken. Our coop, and I'll show it to you here in a minute, is 33 square feet and we only have 6 chickens. I honestly cannot imagine having any more than 6 chickens in our coop at that size. Even though they're not spending a lot of time in there, again, they're just going in there at night to roost and to lay. There are, you know, usually a few days out of the year in the winter where, say, there's a big snowstorm and they have to stay in there. They need a little space to move around, and it's pushing it with 6 in what we've got, I feel. Plus, they also kind of like to gather on the same roost. They like to roost together, and we have just enough room on our top roosting bar that all 6 can fit. You can have multiple bars, obviously, and we do, but they like to be close together, and that keeps them warmer too. So I would want more space if I was going to have more chickens in our coop. And even if you're only planning on starting with 4 to 6 chickens, a lot of people end up getting more. You know, once they have a few, they decide, oh, I want more. Maybe the next year they get chicks again. So think about that as well. You may end up wanting more than what you initially start with. So it's better to kind of plan ahead and have a little bigger coop to accommodate that, just in case. So you don't have to, say, build a second coop or add on to your coop or whatever. Also, keep in mind, chickens are a pretty good investment. You know, building a nice coop or buying a nice coop does cost a little bit of money, so you're not actually saving money on eggs by getting chickens. So definitely, if that's what you're thinking, that does not work out that way. Unless you move into a home that already has a really nice chicken coop already built for you, you're gonna end up, you know, you're not saving yourself any money by having chickens and not having to buy eggs. It's wonderful, we love it, but they are an investment, and they really end up kind of being more like a pet, you know. They like their treats, and obviously you've got to feed them, clean out that coop, supply all of that. So keep that in mind as well. Another important thing to think about is your chicken run. That is something that I didn't give any thought to really much prior to getting chickens. We knew we needed a chicken run, and so we thought bigger was better. So my husband made a really nice big run, and it is really nice. However, we weren't thinking ahead to weather when he did it, so he did not build the run to support a roof, and I would highly recommend a covered run. So when you're thinking about how you're going to do that run, if again you don't already just have one built for you, it's best to have it covered for a lot of reasons. Helps protect them from the elements, obviously. Also helps protect them from predators, because even with a nice fenced in run, they can still climb over that fence. So that actually did happen to us. We did have a coon get in to our chicken coop. We're not sure. We think it may have lifted up the automatic door. We're not 100% sure how it got in, but you know, if you have a covered run, that's going to keep your chickens that much safer from predators at night. Some other things to think about that I didn't think about. We knew we wanted to free range our chickens, and I wouldn't change that. I'm glad that we do. But your chickens, no matter how much land you have, they will run around, but they also really like to be close to your house. For whatever reason, they like to be up close to the house. They like to look in, like our sliding glass doors, and they kind of just like to be where we are. They're very curious. They kind of will follow you around if you're outside. So with that in mind, they poop a lot. So just know that if you're letting them free range, they're gonna poop in places you'd rather they didn't, like your front porch, your patio, your deck, your driveway, all of those places. So if that's something that's going to bother you, you may want to not let them free range. But I don't know, it's just one of those things you just learn to deal with. It's still just nice to have them free range. It is healthier for them and better for them than they're not getting bored, stuck in a small space. But obviously that's up to you, what you decide to do. Also know that if you don't have a covered run, they can fly out unless you clip their wings. Ours have not done that since the first year we had them, but the first year they were just flying on out in the morning before we could even let them out. They wanted out, so they just would fly over the fence, and the fence is relatively high, but that can happen too. So that's something to think about as you're planning. Just some of these things that you don't know going into having chickens that you find out later. Also, you do want to think ahead to weather. It's nice weather right now. Usually when the chicks are coming into the stores, it's spring, so we're just kind of thinking towards nice weather. We're not thinking about what are you going to do to protect your chickens when the weather's not so good. So that's kind of where that covered run comes into. They need somewhere to get out of the elements, to get out of the rain, to get out of the wind, to get out of the snow in the winter. And for most chickens, at least this is true for ours, once they've come out for the day, the only time they go back into the coop is to lay an egg or to roost at night. They don't go back in there if it starts raining or it starts snowing. They're just really not, I don't know, they will run for cover somewhere else. So they need to have somewhere to run for cover and get cover from the elements, especially in the winter when it's really cold and that wind. Otherwise they can get frostbite. So obviously you want them to be comfortable. If you're going to invest in them and go so far as to get them, you want them to be happy, you want them to be comfortable. Also, when it comes to nesting boxes, when you're planning your coop, you do not need a nesting box for each chicken. They will tend to all want to lay their eggs in the same box. I'm not sure why. It's very strange, but we have 3 nesting boxes and 6 chickens, and they generally will just all lay their eggs in the same box. So if someone's in the box, sometimes 2 will get in the box together at a time. Sometimes they'll just wait until that box opens up and then they'll go in there to lay their egg. So you don't need a ton. I'd say maybe 1 box per 3 chickens is plenty. So that's something to think about as well when you're planning your coop. And also for the roosting bars, something good to know, you want to use a 2x4 for those roosting bars to make sure that they can get their feet on there nice. In the winter time, it needs to be wider for their feet, because that's how they keep them warm. They will then lay their feathers over their feet. So it's just more comfortable for them if you're using 2x4s. When it comes to cleaning the coop, we don't do the deep litter method. A lot of people do. What we do is, well, I guess I should say what I do. I go and scoop the poop off the top of those, that bedding that's in there. We use large flake animal bedding. It's priced really well. It's worked really well for us. We have tried the hemp bedding. We have tried the hemp bedding. It's kind of pricey, and I didn't see where there was any benefit to it. Personally, I think they just say there's less dust, but again, your chickens aren't really, they're only in there at night for the most part to roost and to lay their eggs. So I think the large flake animal bedding, that works great for us. Obviously you can do whatever. Some people also will use sand, and I've heard of coffee grounds. I'm not sure about that one, but there's other options. But I just wanted to share what works really well for us, and it's very budget friendly. We usually, like I said, I think I was starting to say, I just scoop the poop off the top of those large flake beddings pretty much every day, at least every other day. That way there's not a bunch of poop in there all the time. Rather than doing the deep litter, I like to just try to keep it as clean as possible, and then we do a full clean out 2 or 3 times a year. Probably more like 3 times, I would say. I just did it last weekend, so it's nice and clean in there right now. But I would imagine another 3 or 4 months, then it just starts getting gross. Because even though I'm scooping the top layer of the poop off, some still gets down under, and there is some moisture as we're getting into the hot weather. I think just the humidity will cause moisture and it'll just get kind of gross. Then you want to just clean those out. We also put the fresh flakes in our nesting boxes. You can also use straw, and you can also, there's little nesting pads you can buy. Those are kind of nice as well. You'll want to also be sure you know approximately at what age your chickens will start laying, so you can be prepared for that. We closed off our nesting boxes when we first put our chickens out in the coop, and we did that so that they wouldn't get in the habit of trying to go in there to sleep. We'd heard that sometimes they will do that, and you don't want them to do that because you don't want them pooping in the nesting boxes, because then the eggs will be dirty. It's gross. So you don't want them to get into that habit. If you can prevent it, it's just best. And then they'll know what those are specifically for. So once we knew they were getting close to where they would start laying, and again, you'll know because they'll start squatting when you approach them, and that's kind of a good indicator that they're getting ready to lay. We bought some of those fake eggs, just the little fake wooden eggs, and we put those in the boxes just so they would know, and that worked for us. We haven't had any problem. For the most part, our chickens have always laid in the nesting boxes. We have had one random chicken just this year who has laid a few eggs in our garage. They really love the garage. Again, like I said, they are obsessed with the house, and I think that's normal from what I've seen in some of the groups that I've joined for chicken people on Facebook. There's a lot of great groups out there. Check those out. This particular chicken just goes in there, kind of makes a nest. There was like a coat laying on the floor kind of in a corner, and she would just make herself a little nest and lay down and lay her egg. Other than that, we haven't had any problems. I've heard of people, finding a bunch of eggs under a tree in random spots. So also just know that can happen, but hopefully, they come to understand where they're supposed to be laying their eggs, and they lay them in the boxes so that you know where they are and you can gather them right away, other than finding random eggs in your yard and then you don't know how long they've been there. So then you have to throw them out just to be on the safe side. A lot of people have varying opinions too on how long you can leave those eggs out on your counter. We leave ours out for a while. I mean, we usually go through them fast enough that it's not a problem, but we leave ours on the counter unwashed. We have a cute little stand that's kind of nice. It's just kind of part of the kitchen decor. And, then if we feel like they've been there for too long, then we'll move them to the fridge, but we don't wash them until we're ready to eat them. That way, keeping that bloom on the egg, they will last longer than if you wash them right away. If you do wash them, you want to get them in the fridge. Don't leave them on the counter if you decide to wash them. Also, when researching those chicken breeds, if you're wanting chickens that, are lay more, some will lay more than others, that's something you want to look at too. Or if you're interested in certain colored eggs, our Americanas, they lay Easter egg colors, kind of those blue. One of them lays kind of a taupey pink color. And then our Will Summer lays a beautiful brown speckled egg. Love her eggs. And the cream leg bar lays kind of a blue egg. Some other things to keep in mind, to think about when you get those baby chicks. It's nice to handle them and get them used to you. We held ours a lot when they were baby chicks, and I do think that helps, even though they will go through a stage where you think they hate you because they will run from you because they don't want to be caught, like ours did in that in-between stage between baby chick and before they're laying. They're super fast. They don't hate you. They just don't want you to pick them up. That's all. They're like a little kid that doesn't want to go inside. They don't want you to catch them. Other than that, another thing that I've seen people talk about is training their chicks to come when they call them. And if you give your chicks treats regularly, you do not need to call them. You don't need any special, you don't have to train them. As soon as they see you, they just will automatically think you have treats. You can walk out your door, say nothing to them, have nothing in your hands, and they see you, they will come running. I've seen other people say, oh, hold the bag of treats out and shake it. You can train them to come by shaking the bag or saying a certain word, and trust me, all they need to do is just see you. Unless you never give them treats, and then I'm not sure what happens, but they love treats. Black soldier fly larvae, that's a good one. I get ours on Amazon. You can also get them at the local farm stores. That will give them a little extra protein and calcium. They love those. They also have other special chicken treats, but what we've just started doing is just buying bird seed, and we toss that on the ground for them. In the winter, we'll give them cracked corn. We also have other things we give them. We do feed our chickens scrambled eggs, generally just in the cold weather months. We haven't totally gotten away from that yet. They love it so much, especially our Will Summer. When we come out with this breakfast, we call it their breakfast, where we have oats mixed with some hot water and then some scrambled eggs, sometimes some blueberries. They love blueberries, and sometimes some arugula. Our Will Summer will turn in circles like a dog waiting for us to put this down. She loves it so much. It's hilarious. So you'll find all kinds of things that you want to give them. I know some people give them table scraps. We don't. We just either give them that breakfast that I just spoke of, the bird seed, the black soldier fly larva, or in the summer we do give them watermelon. They love cantaloupe seeds. The watermelon's a good hydrating thing to give them in the summer. So you do want to be prepared for summer months too. It's really hot. They need to have shade, somewhere to go and get out of the sun and the heat so that they don't have heat stress. It's also good to grab some electrolytes, have those on hand. They sell those. I buy mine on Amazon. Again, it's kind of just like a small cereal box size, so it'll last a really long time. I recommend having that on hand. You can also sometimes buy little small packs at your local farm store, but you really should just have a big one because trust me, you will use it. In the summer, when I know it's going to be coming upon some really hot weather, I'll start giving them the electrolytes in advance just to kind of get them a little more prepped for it. And then also in the winter, if it's kind of terrible weather, they're not getting around much, and I feel like they're not drinking probably as much water because they're just not moving around as much, then I'll put it in their water then as well. It's really just anytime that there's stress for them, it's good to give them those electrolytes. And as baby chicks, they sometimes recommend giving it to them too, because you don't know if they, you know, if they're hydrated, depending on, I think, where they've come from. Especially, I know some people order them in the mail. You know, I think if you get them at your local farm store, they're probably in pretty good shape because they've got that water and food available to them. Hopefully they are. Some baby chicks also will need help learning how to drink, so they recommend that you dip their little beak in the water so that they understand that that's for them to drink, I guess. So we did do that with all of our chicks just to be sure they knew that that was the water and what that was all about. And we haven't had any problems. We started with 6, it's 2 years later, we still have all 6. We've been really lucky. But again, you do need to, you know, make sure that you're doing all the things to try to keep them as healthy as possible, and then also as protected as possible from predators. If you live in a neighborhood that allows chickens, you probably won't have much to worry about because you probably have a fenced-in yard, and there may be a stray cat or something that might be your only really big threat that you need to worry about, if there's some neighborhood stray cat that could come and climb your fence. But if you have land, then you do need to definitely be prepared for there to be predators, because they're out there, the coons and the possums, and some people have fox, all kinds of things. So you do need to make sure that you give them as much protection, especially in the hours where it's dark, you know, the pre-dawn and when it's you know, at sunset. You just want to make sure that they are protected, that their run is well protected. We also usually set out some live traps. That way, if anything comes close to the coop, hopefully we catch it in the live trap. That's another good thing to do. Also, some motion sensing lights work really well along the outside of your run, just for some extra protection. And a camera. Also, highly recommend a camera. We got a cheap camera on Amazon. It's been great. I think it cost $40. But just put the app on your phone, and then we have ours aimed at the run. So if something triggers the motion lights, then we can check the camera if we're in the house at night and just see if we see anything, and that's super convenient. We don't have one in the coop, maybe someday, because that would actually be really nice too. But it's nice to have it on the run. We can just kind of check the area and see what's going on. All right, I am going to show you the inside of our coop real quick. Oh, and we've got a chicken in the box. The middle box is the one they have all been laying in today, of course. Here's our roosting bars. That thing on the wall is a flat panel heater. We also have insulation that helps in the winter. Oh, you also need lots of ventilation. Hopefully you're watching some other videos to make sure you figure out everything you need, but they need lots of ventilation. Especially also in the winter, it helps them keep from getting frostbite, the ventilation. We cover some of ours up to protect from the wind, whatever's at roost that could get them on the roost, but we leave a lot open on the top. Here's our bedding, all nice and clean. And there's Mimi. I'm sorry, Mimi, am I bothering you? All right, then I'll show you our automatic door. An automatic door it's not a must-have, but it is sure handy. Will make your life so much easier. Ours is a Coop Defender. We got it online on Chewy. There it is. You can set it to either automatically open in the morning. It can open you can set it to dawn and dusk, or you can set the time yourself. We just set the time ourselves, but this saves us having to come out in the morning. We always come out in the evening just to make sure everybody got in okay, because we want to make sure no one's like left out or got locked out, because that has happened where they're, for whatever reason, taking forever to get in and then the door shuts. So definitely recommend that. Kind of show you our run. It's got a lot of random straw left over from winter. You also want to have a dust bath for them. We just use a pool. They've kicked a lot of straw in there. I need to clean that out. They also love to hide under things. We had this box from something, and so they like to go in there. My husband cut a little hole in it for a little door, and they just like to hide under things. They also, if your coop is raised off the ground, get that out of the way, they like to go under there. That's somewhere that ours usually will go to take cover if it starts raining. That's about it. Lots of things to think about if you're getting baby chicks. They are so fun though. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope that this video was helpful. If it was and you want to see more like it, be sure to hit that subscribe button and give us a like.